Jordan Williams will, actually it's going to be Dekai Joseph, redshirt freshman out of East St. John High School. There's another floating snap back there. This is going to be a line drive. This is going to be returnable for the freshman. Coming straight up the middle, and he's going to take this one. He has taken the beat, and he does. The Cal throws it to the house, and a touchdown. He can fly.
Didn't take long.
And welcome into this edition of the Southeastern Sports Network podcast at week 4, talking about the Lions' big win against the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils and previewing the LSU Tigers this Saturday in Baton Rouge. Robbie Rhodes coming to you as always, along with Mark Willoughby, talking about a big win for Southeastern, their home opener this past Saturday. And then we'll also cover slightly the LSU Tigers this Saturday in Baton Rouge. But this week we have our special guest this week. It's brought to you by Gateway Ford, as we'll talk about in just a minute. Gordy Rush from the LSU Sports Radio Network. He's been a sideline reporter. I got a chance to speak with Gordy a little bit and just kind of talk about maybe the game, but just about what it means to be playing these kind of games, Mark. And we'll come back and you and I can talk about Mississippi Valley State and also talk about LSU a little bit. All right, let's play it. Gordy Rush sat down with me and talk about it right now. Go to that clip. All right, welcome to our interview segment, Southeastern Sports Network podcast here in week 4. All interviews are brought to you by Gateway Ford in Ponchatoula. Go check their inventory out at gatewayford.net. Go see them on the lot in Ponchatoula. They have great deals for anybody needing any kind of vehicle. The 2026s are almost here, and any kind of make model you need, Gateway Ford in Ponchatoula, proud sponsor of the Sports Network podcast interview segment each and every week. Robbie Rhodes with you. Our special guest this week is Gordy Rush, sideline reporter for the LSU Sports Radio Network, former Tiger, and just a guy who's been doing this for a long time, a good grasp with this LSU team and Louisiana sports in general. Gordy, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. We really appreciate you coming on.
No, guys, thanks for having me. Big fan of the Southeastern Lions. Had a chance to Frank Selfo coach me back in high school and been a lifelong friend. So nothing but respect for that program. And I at least make 2 or 3 visits over there to Hammond and go visit with he and his son, Anthony. Great people.
Yeah, absolutely. Gordy, these games are, they're part of college football. You know that. LSU goes through 3 or 4 at least 3, maybe 2 or 3 at least of these a year. We play 1. Sometimes we have to play 2. This year we're playing 2 with a 12-game season, Louisiana Tech. But I think there is something that these teams can get out of these games, right? And I think for LSU, it's they go through these all the time, like I mentioned, but they know, what can benefit them in this game, getting opportunities to, obviously you want to play well and defeat the opponent, but you want to have a chance to get out there and get ahead of a team that you're overmatching for sure in Southeastern, but getting a chance to get some guys some reps. I know Coach Kelly talked about today not getting a lot of guys as many reps as they wanted to against Louisiana Tech, so I think that's probably on their mind a little bit today, going into this Saturday's game, trying to get some guys on the field in Tiger Stadium to kind of get those reps under the lights, you might say.
Well, no doubt. I mean, you look at the situation. Louisiana Tech, you were just 1 game into the season. You play 3 now. You played 2 really physical games with Clemson and Florida. And look, Louisiana Tech put up a heck of a fight, and they gave LSU fits on the defensive side of the football. And so this is week 4 now. You've got a 2:30 game coming up against Ole Miss, so you've got a few more knocks than you had. So I can understand some of that. But look, this is college football, and we're in a different era, right? And I keep saying there's no great teams anymore with this new everybody with the rev share, at least in the SEC and what have you, and the transfer portal changes things so quickly. And so, look, for LSU, there's a lot that they have to get done. They need to continue the pace they're on defense, and offensively, this is obviously not a finished product. So, they're going to bring the starters out here, and they've got to put together 3 quarters of outstanding football in preparation of being able to go on the road to Vaught Hemingway next week and play against a good Ole Miss team.
One of the things I've picked up on, I noticed, I've been doing this for Southeastern for 18 years, so you kind of see these games and how they develop. You watch who other teams are playing in these money guarantee games, you call them. But what I've noticed, and I think it's great, is the athletic department at LSU has said, hey, we're going to play these games every year, but you seem like you're really trying to incorporate as many Louisiana teams every year as you can. I feel like that you're constantly seeing league teams from the Southland. You saw Southern, you see Tech going in there this year. You've seen Lafayette, Monroe. I know Tulane's talking about that could be on the horizon down the road. But if you're going to pay someone to play you, why not do it to people that are in your state to help the betterment of Louisiana football? Can you just talk about how that not only helps the in-state schools when LSU's got to do it anyway, but also kind of the pageantry of the state, because there is good college football here. Besides the Tigers, obviously the flagship, but there's some good college football in the state of Louisiana besides LSU.
Yeah, well, no question. I mean, I think that Coach Kelly's continued on what Coach Jogeron really put in play, and that was developing really good relationships with coaches throughout the state. And Louisiana obviously is one of the, per capita puts out as many college football athletes as any state. And so in the off season, rarely are Southeastern and LSU competing for the same players, but they host camps on each other. They, obviously you exchange information. And you want to be able to keep as many kids in the state of Louisiana possible, whether that's at LSU, Southeastern, Louisiana Tech, Grambling Southern, Louisiana College. I think it's good for all the programs to work together. And look, the SEC is going to 9 conference games next year. I can't see at most SEC teams, staying with a Clemson, right? I mean, it's you need to be 10-2 to get to the college football playoff. That's the formula right now. If you're playing 9 conference games, I'm not playing a Clemson anymore. So that's right. 3 opportunities, and why not keep that money in state, support the state schools, and the stronger I think all those programs on, it's better for the state. And again, working together to keep the talent, the high school talent in state.
A lot of Lion fans obviously excited to come into Tiger Stadium to see Bauer Sharp, a guy who you guys are getting to know really quickly, and you played against him last year. That's just the wildness of college football these days, right? You got a guy you competed against last year at Oklahoma in Tiger Stadium, and now he's playing for you. He played for Southeastern for 2 years. Just talk about what Tiger fans and Coach Kelly and the staff have seen from him in his short time in Baton Rouge.
Well, I think he's an example of what, LSU did in the offseason. And what they did is they went and found 18 transfers that had 6 starts or more at Power 4 conferences. And I can't tell you how impactful that's been. And not only do you bring very good football players, but you bring mature human beings in there. You bring men. And Sharp has been part of a group along with Pyburn and obviously Delane, the cornerback out there. And I could go on that have delivered just a physical mentality. They've been incredible leaders out there, and they've done a nice job gelling with the Whit Weeks and the Harold Perkins Jr. and those guys, right, to really form some good leadership and good chemistry on this team. I love the way that Bauer Sharp plays. He's, there are times he's been able to line up wide and block out there on a little quick hit pass out there. Aaron Anderson, he's an inline tight end, and with Trudez Green being out of the lineup against Florida, he was able to get out there in the slot, and he had the longest completion on a fourth quarter slant pass that he was able to run all the way down to about the 8-yard line. So he's tremendously versatile, and I think a guy like that has a chance to play on Sunday because he does so many things well.
For Lion fans have come in the stadium now twice in recent years, came in 2018 for Joe Burrow's first year. You obviously know what Joe has gone on to become and in his first year in 2018 when he came to LSU. This year, they're getting another quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier. These great quarterbacks. I mean, it's a treat to watch, for Lion fans who made the trip in 18 or coming back this year to see these 2 players. I know Coach Stelfo talked about him when he met with the media today at lunch about how, Coach Stelfo's been around a lot of good quarterbacks, but he thinks a lot of Garrett. Just, everybody sees him on TV and they hear about him, but just talk about maybe Garrett as you get to know him behind the scenes of kind of how he's taken on this role this year as the leader of the LSU football team.
Yeah, I mean, what a tremendous, selfless guy. They could have gone, a lot of people felt like he was going to go to TCU back when Jack Besh went, or he might have gone to a different school, but he stuck it out and paid his dues here. And I think the first quarterback in, LSU history that has actually taken a snap in all 5 of the years, if I'm not mistaken, that he's been at LSU. He stepped up and has been a vocal leader and, a guy that could have gone in the NFL draft. I think he would have been a late first-round pick a year ago, but wisely came back. I think, obviously, financially, what you can make in this year, helps that decision. But, his dad Doug being down there with the Saints now and a pro coach realized he needed to play, more football. And it's, do you want to get thrown to the wolves in the NFL, but get another year underneath you, knowing that what was happening with this rev share, that LSU was going to go get 3-4 wide receivers to help him out, 2 more offensive linemen out of the portal. We mentioned Bauer Sharp out of the Sharp and also Green, the tight end from Texas A&M. So they went out and got a lot of pieces to help him have a successful senior year.
Well, not only Bauer, but I wanted to also mention Zy Alexander for the past 2 years was a line as well. So, just guys that you see excel at LSU. And, if guys are going to leave us, it's not a bad thing if they go to a place like LSU in the state of Louisiana where we can watch them, compete for the state. If they're not playing for the Lions, they're playing for somebody else that you kind of have that connection with being a state school. So, Gordy, we really appreciate your time tonight. We look forward to the game on Saturday. It's always fun to go and when we get to go to these venues and see them, but especially for Lion fans down the road. I remember last year I thought it was really cool. Not last year, last time we played in 18. I remember walking to the stadium, you see a lot of people that were wearing maybe an LSU t-shirt and a Southeastern hat, or vice versa, or a husband and wife wearing the opposite colors. And I think you see that a lot when you play a Nichols comes in or Northwestern. People that have ties to both of these universities, whether they went to them and their kids go to LSU, or they went to Southeastern or their kids are going to Southeastern or whatever it might be. So it's just a cool thing, and we really appreciate you coming on tonight and talking with us a little bit.
No, absolutely. Look forward to seeing y'all Saturday, and best of luck, in the Southland Conference, always pulling for those Louisiana teams.
Absolutely. Hope to see you in Strawberry Stadium as well this year. That's Gordy Rush. He is a sideline reporter for the LSU Sports Radio Network, also covers the Tigers weekly on various radio stations and media in Baton Rouge. Special guest this week brought to you by Gateway Ford. We'll take a break and come back with more on the Southeastern Sports Network podcast after this. All right, welcome back to the Southeastern Sports Network podcast. Just got a chance to listen to Gordy Rush and me talk a little bit, Mark. I think he kind of hits all the great points about this game and what it means. And I think you can tell, I didn't know that I personally did not know he made it to a lot of games at Strawberry Stadium to see Coach Selfo and Anthony. And I wonder if he and Anthony, he's probably a little older than Anthony, wouldn't you think? When he played at LSU?
Yeah, Gordy played in the 80s. He's closer to my age, actually.
But I think that's great, and I knew Coach Selfo told me that he and Gordy had a relationship, and so that's exciting. And I think he gets it. He's excited to see teams in Louisiana in the South, and whether it's us, Nichols, Northwestern, McNeese, have success in our league, and he's obviously keeping an eye on that from a distance. And I do remember, Gordy runs 104.5 ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge, and I remember, Mark, if you remember this, we played in the national quarterfinal game against New Hampshire. Obviously, LSU was not playing that day because it was kind of like Heisman Trophy week. There's no college games going on. It was after the SEC championship game in 2013, and Gordy had our game on ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge, and I remember that whole thing going through Damon Sunday and those folks. So that just goes to show they really care about what's going on, not only in Hammond but other schools in Louisiana.
Well, they're not tuned out. It's not just all LSU. They get it. They're from Louisiana. They know people, and LSU fans and people who follow LSU have dual connections as well, as we talked about, and you and Gordy talked about. So they get it, and it's always good to have those guys on, get their perspective, and it's going to be fun going over there this week. We'll talk about it at the end of this show and what it means. We went over there in 2018, and I thought competed reasonably well back then against what we didn't know at the time was going to be versus I
think they went 10-3 that year, Mark. I think they went 9-3 in the regular season and beat Central Florida in the bowl game. So it was a really good LSU team.
They had a good season, but at the time, is this going to be a national champion? Maybe the greatest college football team of all time.
Yeah.
It was pretty much the same roster.
Yeah, pretty much.
Came back the next year. You had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had all those guys on that roster, the offensive line, the defense. And, they just weren't ramped up yet. And, of course, Southeast had a 3-8 season or 4-7, whatever we were that year. But that ball game was 17-0 right before the half. They throw a Hail Mary on the last play of the half. And then we're going in to score. We're on like the 2-yard line, I think, and have a
snap it over Lorenzo's
over our head. They run it all the way back inside the 10 and score with a couple of minutes left and make it 31-0 in that ball game. So when you look back on it, and that was
I think maybe Joe Burrow's worst game statistically in his LSU career, and he got hit a lot. If you remember, Isaac Adeyemi Berglund made a name for himself and is now leading the Canadian League in sacks. Got after him a lot that night. So there's a lot of positives to take away out of that, even though it was a shutout. And you hope you get a similar kind of a, this time. It's a different world now in college football, as Frank Selfos talked about today. With NIL,
he called it.
He called it the separation is great.
Yeah, he said. He said today. He said these are not just LSU, but teams at the Power 5 level, the top of the leagues. They're super teams now. They were really good back then. They're always good, but these teams are just super teams at this point, at this level of college football these days, which makes sense. And he talked about he felt like we're closer to the Group of 5 teams now than we were before all this.
I think that's true.
But we're more. The way he kind of made it sound like it's going to be, we're never going to get into like an Ole Miss battle with an SEC team again. That's going to be hard to do.
Well,
pretty much impossible.
The thing it's not going to happen. You're not going to get that premium transfer. Cole Kelly, let's say, Brian Bennett. It's going to be hard to get that type of Chase and Virgil, guys have been starters or have started games at the FBS level or Power 5 level. It's going to be hard to get those guys in your program. It's not unheard of. Tennessee or East Tennessee State's got 2 of them on the roster right now who started at Power 5 programs. So it's not unheard of. If you can cobble enough NIL together, I guess. But again, the separation for the entire rosters is greater and greater, and you're seeing it on the scoreboards every Saturday. Before you have a number of, competitive games. Now you're seeing a bunch of 70-0 and 65-10s and whatever around the country when a Power 5 plays an FCS. But we'll talk more about that later. But let's dive into Mississippi Valley. Good win.
Yeah, good. Great game, Mark, from start to finish. Lions did what they're supposed to do. They came out. Looked like they were amped up to play in their home opener at Strawberry Stadium this year and put pressure on a team that they were obviously way more talented than and a better football team. And last thing you want in those kind of games is there to be any kind of gray area, or you'd be thinking, oh my gosh, we won, but this team is not as good as us and we let them hang around. That's a bad sign for any team, but that was not the case this weekend. They jumped on it from the start defensively. You can just tell the Delta Devils really didn't seem like they had any chance to move the football whatsoever in the game. Special teams, the block punt, nice punt returns. So they did everything. And Coach Selfo talked about the first half. He talked about it at halftime with Allen. He talked about it again today with the media. He said, look, the score looked really good, but there was a lot of things behind the scenes that we see as coaches that we weren't happy about in the first half. And so he felt like in the second half, they were a lot cleaner with those things. And it's just all in preparation for Southland play and building towards that. And also, he talked about this is the first time that really since Central Connecticut State in 2022, we've had a game where we just could clear the benches, and get everybody that was there pretty much in the game and get some meaningful snaps because, you can do all the simulations you want in practice. When you're in the game against somebody else under the lights in front of the fans, it's different. So you can get guys good, valuable reps, whether you have injuries or you want to create depth. That's important in games like this.
Well, there's always a special energy anytime you play at home for the first time during a season. And unfortunately, in the past couple of years, we've shown up at home like 0-3 or 0-2 with, kind of limping into Strawberry Stadium. And this year, you're able to come in off a win and playing reasonably well at Louisiana Tech, I thought, especially as we've seen how things have played out the last couple of weeks. Disappointed you got shut out, but you go back and look at it, clean up some things, and you felt like the effort was there. And you played well. I thought you played really well at Murray State, and you come in on Saturday night playing an outman Mississippi Valley team who I think is, again, they're not a good football team, not going to win a lot of games, but I do think they are structurally better. I think they're going in the right direction. They do have some athletes who can give you some fits. They did play Southern toe-to-toe in the opener. Southern's a good program in the SWAC. And, so that right there tells you the baseline. They're going to be competitive, at least in their conference. Now, they went on the road and got hammered at Tarleton State, but we know how good Tarleton is. Haven't played them the last couple of years. But The score was 56-3, and I know Coach Selfo wasn't happy at halftime, upset with some things, but my goodness, this team played hard. I thought all three phases got after it: offense, defense, obviously special teams. I thought the execution was very good. I know he was unhappy with, like you said, some internal things, that lining up right, getting the play call in, but despite all that, you hit every check mark in this football game, and you hit them early. And you knocked them out, and you played hard. You were able to get deep in your benches. You roll your depth. You got into your third offensive and defensive lines, guys who have yet to play in a college football game, and they all played well and looked like they belonged on a Division I field. So this is a different team, and I've been saying that for a long time. I know you guys have heard me say it, off the air and on, that this team's got that look. I think this team. Well, first off, you've got players, older, senior players that are leaders on this team that are bought in, and they're on a mission. They're on a mission to, kind of right some wrongs. Last year it felt like they got snubbed. I think this team feels like they got a chance to make a run, and they're playing like it. Now, obviously, you got a big bear coming up this week, but I do think this team's on the right track.
You talk about the quarterback play. I thought both of them, again, Coach Selvo keeps talking about, well, we'll see if somebody separates himself. Well, I think through 3 games, no one has. They both played pretty well, especially in the last 2. And so, if it continues to work at this efficient rate, I think he'll stay with it. You saw he's had success with that here in 2019. You saw it again a little bit in 2021 with Cephas Johnson, but more so in 2022 with Eli Sawyer and Cephas, and hopefully back again this year.
I'll be honest with you, and I don't know that he would say this publicly or not. I don't know if he really feels this way or not, but I kind of get the sense that he kind of likes it like this. I will say this. You sit there and you watch them both play and you watch them both execute, especially in the last couple of weeks. When each one is on the field running the show, you're like, yeah, that's the guy. And then the other one comes in, you go, no, that's the guy. And it's almost like you just want to continue to see that play out and see that grow, because they both bring 2 distinct things to the table that helps this football team move. So when you need to rip it down the field, you can run Carson Camp in there, but he can also give you some stuff with his legs out of the pocket. When you want to run the football, have the quarterback run game more involved, you bring Low in, he can still rip the ball down the football field. So they both are a little bit stronger in one aspect than the other, but both can do both run and throw. So the playbook doesn't necessarily change in terms of how wide or how open it is, but maybe you tailor it a little bit differently for each one. But I think it's a good thing right now. They're playing off each other. I don't think you necessarily have to have a starter. I think you can pull it off if you have guys that can do it. Now, the last couple of years you didn't. But when you go back to Cephas and this probably reminds me a little bit more of the Cephas Eli Sawyer 2022 team that did Chase and Cole in 2019, because Cole really was more of a wildcat guy. And, I think he had 90 attempts all year, and, Chasen was over 400 or whatever it was. But it was more balanced in 2022, I think, as far as snaps go. But so far, so good. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out on Saturday. But both were outstanding against Mississippi Valley.
Talking about this team, you saw special teams make some plays, some turnovers defensively, but a lot of good things to build off of. And, this game this Saturday, you want to get through it. You want to put your best showing on the field. And, Coach Silva said today, we want to get our check and want to get out of here healthy and ready to go, because conference starts, in less than 2 weeks now, the Saturday after. Last Saturday in November, UTRGV comes in. They're probably coming in 4-0. They haven't played a very difficult schedule, but they're still a 4-0 team, confident, playing good football. But, look, you have to be ready for this one and then turn your attention quickly to that. Luckily, this is an easy trip, just 45 minutes down the road. The players are able to sleep in their own beds, eat on campus. Almost like a normal really like a normal game day, Mark, like a home game. They'll eat where they normally eat before leaving for Baton Rouge, and then you hop on the bus and you're I know they from what I was told, they're going to snake in kind of a different way to kind of avoid the traffic and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to kind of get in, get out, and get back home at a decent hour and get in bed and get ready to prepare the following Sunday for conference play, which is what really matters for us down the stretch.
Well, think about it. When you travel on the road to any game, you're probably staying about 45 minutes to an hour out of that town. No team really ever stays in the town they're playing in. So it's not common to bus in an hour or so to play a football game, even when you're traveling, even when you charter a flight and all that. So, 45 minutes. And with a police escort, you get right in and play the game and get home. And, again, we know what this is about. It's we call it a paycheck game, and as long as hope it cashes, that's the old joke. But you have guys that want to go into Tiger Stadium and play well. They have had ambitions of playing there, and this is the one shot they have, and they want to see, how do I measure up against the guy that's going to be in the NFL in a year or two? Because LSU is going to be loaded with high draft picks, and Southeastern has players that aspire to play in the NFL, and you just kind of want to say, okay, where do I stand? Now, again, there's no expectation of going in there and pulling off an upset. I mean, obviously, you hope you play well and do, but I think everyone's realistic about it. We got a guy like Caleb Proctor. Here's a guy that's got a chance to play in the NFL. How does he match up, against an SEC offensive line? You got some other guys that have some aspirations. Just kind of see how they fit. Can we get separation against an outstanding secondary? Can you get guys open? Can we block their defensive front? I mean, those are all things that I know going in 2018 that you had those questions as well. And I thought overall, for the team we had that year, reasonably well. So you want to see if you can go in and do the same thing. And it's going to be fun, no question about it. But a game like this past Saturday kind of tells you a little bit where the last 2 weeks, I should say, gives you a pretty good baseline of what you can achieve. And then you go, maybe take your lumps this coming week and then get back on the train for UTRGV, and you kick off what's going to be a long conference race. And, but it's going to be a lot of fun ahead, I think. It's going to, looking forward to it.
Yeah, a lot on the line, and you have a chance to play good down the stretch. You got some tough games at the end of the season. Obviously, you have a tough one coming up. Obviously every game's difficult, but the ones that stand out, 3 good teams in this league, you're going to face them on the road: McNeese, Lamar, and UIW. You get Nichols at home, but a lot of other teams sprinkled in between. Whether it's the first one, UTRGV, Northwestern, East Texas A&M is going to be a good team. Going to be coming to Strawberry Stadium with the hopes of beating you, and so. Got to be ready to go on the road. Houston Christian kind of mixed in there. You don't want to overlook those guys if you go on the road. And so, look, exciting things ahead. But the first 3 games, I think, have been very, very impressive to me in a lot of ways. And excited for what's ahead. And we'll get through this one. We'll be back next week, Mark, talking about LSU. Looking forward to the first conference game.
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see what next week holds. Saturday holds. Hopefully, we're talking about a positive experience. That's what we hope.
Yep.
Regardless of the score, we just hope we go in there and represent well, compete well.
You said it a minute ago, like if you clone 2018 and you go in there and lose 31-0, I'll be like, that's great.
I would. I think most people, and of course, Frank Selfo is not going to say this, and I don't think any of the players are going to say it. They want to go in there and win. I mean, that's a competitor's mindset, right? But I think most people would say, look, if you could sign a contract for the exact same kind of result, game to play out similarly, you'd probably take it. I mean, nobody wants to get shut out in a football game. I mean, we got shut out in the first week. You don't want to get shut out. You want to go in there and score some points and play well. But if you can go in there and have a similar effort, I think, Lion fans would be happy coming out of that ball game and feel like, hey, we got a lot to look forward to moving forward. Now you go back to 2018, that team ended up with 4 wins, but at the time, you're coming off a 3-point loss against Monroe, a tough loss against UCA. You felt like you were set up to have a good season in 2018, actually, but this is a much better football team.
All right, that'll do it for us. Yeah, no, you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of similarities in this whole thing to 2022. We'll see if it plays out that way. 2022, you had that really bad performance offensively against Lafayette and FAU, kind of similar to Tech. We'll see how it goes this weekend against LSU. But Team Bill got better and, couldn't be stopped against
Even
Nichols and Sanford at the end of the season. And Idaho.
Well, last year was the same thing. You just didn't play well early, and then you got hot. But it was enough to, you went 7-5, and you lost 2 close ones.
Yeah, but the non-conference season was just so difficult last year. You start out, basically 1-4, and you're basically climbing uphill from there on out. But nonetheless, Lions will be playing the Tigers 6:55. We were told it got pushed back to 6:55 kickoff in Tiger Stadium Saturday night. You can make the trip over there. Great, be a good atmosphere to go watch the Lions in action. You can listen to the network here with us, or obviously watch it on the SEC network this Saturday. So should be great. Should be a good atmosphere. Looking forward to it. And we'll be back talking next week about UTRGV, recapping LSU on the podcast, have our next guest, and get ready for what'll be a great conference slate down the road, Mark. So final thoughts from you real quick.
Just looking forward to it. Thanks to Gordy Rush for coming on. Great job, as always. And looking forward to seeing those guys on Saturday and giving it our best shot.
All right. That's Mark Willoughby. I want to thank Gordy Rush again. I'm Robbie Rhodes. Talk to you next week on the Southeastern Sports Network podcast.